He comes around the final turn now and gets us ready for the green. Green flag in hand for the starter, although Aguilar doesn't decide to go straight out of the final corner. He waits just for a moment before going and getting the green flag to start this out.
Penalty, a grid penalty, is one of the McLarens there is off. I believe that might be, no, it's not Mark Samad. Trying to see which
14 we have in the race tonight, 27. Oh, GT3s and a spin on green now. Another one, the second of the day, and another drop.
That lead has swollen up to 13 seconds as it sits right now. So Alan Aguilar has found his rhythm around this Laguna Seca circuit, and he is really flying. 38, trying to get his way through as well. As this is the fun of multi-class racing, is these guys trying to get around each other. That's Lorenzo Arujo.
No.
Contact between the 87 and 80.
He's got as well, just a little bit of good fortune, and he's 3 seconds in front of Harrison Holiday now, and leaving these guys to fight it out on their own. Here's a little bit more traffic. Oh, miscommunication, and Holiday is going to be overtaken by Bethel, and in fact he's...
Eatonhouse Porsche. And then, yeah, just sitting in the middle of the road. This is the worst place to be for Tim Schaefer coming up through, because that's right at the exit point on the racing line.
There were quite a lot of GT3s that were just behind him as he rejoined, and there's another 2 of them that Hendricks has just had to pass, and now the gap goes up to 4 seconds. I think that's all it has come down to here, although I could be wrong.
Too hard, you know you're up against the incident limit. The big problem is he's a race car driver. Race car drivers typically aren't smart, so they're gonna do the one thing they shouldn't do. And right now, Pierce is really, you're right, he's fighting.
Meantime, Alan Aguilar is going to come into the final turn and take the checkered flag in just a moment. He's going to win the latest round of the Bitepoint Racing Sports Car Challenge here for round 3 at Laguna Seca. It's Alan Aguilar who takes the win. Secrest just came over the line there, by the way, as the LMP2 Pro-Am winner. Casco actually almost beats him to the line there. Pierce is going to drop behind him with that penalty, and Crawford will get ahead onto the podium as well because of that penalty to do. And in hindsight, maybe he should have stayed back, but he's gone for the win, and he's cost himself some points. Here's how it happened in the end. He just loses the rear on the way in. He tries to slow down to make sure he doesn't actually go off track, and in doing so, he gets rear-ended by that Ferrari and actually gets pretty bad damage.
Yeah, nothing that Ferrari could have done there. That's just unfortunate placement, unfortunate timing.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Endurance Round, the first of 2 in our season here at the Bitepoint Racing Sports Car Challenge. The World Tour goes across to Canada for the first and only time in this 12-week calendar to Canadian Tire Motorsport Park for a 90-minute endurance race. A little bit longer than those 60-minute sprints that we've seen throughout the season so far. Last week at Laguna Seca, it was tight and it was difficult, but we had a huge field around that short circuit, and it feels like we're doing something very, very similar all over again here. Just less than 2.5 miles around here, and only 10 turns, although it does depend who you ask, and no room for error around here. Certainly in this build of iRacing as well, of course, which is not including some of the runoff that is present in today's versions of Mosport in the real world. It's myself, Ian Delirium, Frank Marchese in commentary with you here tonight on Motormouth Broadcasting, once again with you on a Thursday evening every week, as we will be right the way through until the end of October after the final race of our season and our other endurance race at Sebring. Good to be alongside you again for this one, Frank, from Mosport. For me, one of the more underrated circuits, I would say, in sports car racing circles. IMSA does come here, but not so often in recent years anyway, with the proper GTPs. Now, we don't have those in this series either, but we do have a proper field, once again, like we did at Laguna Seca last week.
Yeah, it's going to be 40-plus cars, multi-class here tonight, and Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, or Mosport. Very, very fun racetrack. It's gone through a couple of different iterations over the course of the years, but it is still a very challenging racetrack. The corner layout doesn't make it look all that challenging. However, when you get down into the nitty-gritty and you actually see the racetrack and how this track undulates up and down and the way these corners flow into each other, it is a very, very tricky racetrack to get around.
Yeah, it certainly is. We've had 3 rounds of this championship so far, so let's show you where everybody is in terms of the championship so far. LMP2 Pro, we've got a lead for Dalton Dudley now by 6 points in front of Alan Aguilar after round 3. David Turnbull not too far back from third, neither is Sammy Hendricks or Adam Beffel, who round out the top 5. Scott Mowry and Andrew Fabian are next in line. Then a bit of a jump back to Thomas Gruber, Andrew Espinez and Carl Smith, with an even bigger jump back to Lucas Wall down the back end of the field there. In Pro-Am, it's a 20-point gap for Nicholas Sickrest, who's got 20 points over Nicholas Sheridan, who in turn also has 20 points over Stephen Smalley. Big jump back to Tyler Crowe and Harrison Holiday, who round out the top 5. On Green, then a bit of a jump back to him as well, with Robbie Williams and Corey Patton type of 7th. Oliver Hubber, Francis Crosby and Gray Bates round out the Pro-Ams. In GT3 Pro, it is James Pearce who leads by 22 points in front of Alexander Cortez. Great fights they've been having though in the last couple of weeks. It's turning into a bit of a 2-horse race between them, to be honest. Paul Basson is in 3rd place, with Daniel Leaf and Justin Bock running out the top 5. Joseph Crawford and Pavel Piskett running out the top 8. You can see the others on the right-hand side, including a couple of new names that we'll talk about in a moment.
Ewan?
So I got it.
I think I will take over the Pro-Am. You got something going on with your mic there. Right now, Walker Morgan currently sitting atop the point standings with 100 points. Christopher Grondin sitting in second at 96. Tyler Smith, Michael Spohn, John Voigt, and Josh Mann currently rounding out the top 6. James Gilpin, RJ Dubeck, Randy Olivo, Joe Culp, rounding out the top 10. Justin Welsh, Jordan Cox, Ryan Castleberry, and Mark Samad up into 14th. Mackie Meyercord, Tyler Crow, Timothy Craig, Neil Barber, and Bo Harvey rounding out the GT3 Pro-Am drivers. And GT3 is going to have a lot of changes, a couple of changes throughout all of the classes, as Timothy Schaefer and Lorenzo Arujo go up from the GT3 Pro-Am class to the GT3 Pro class. Thomas Gruber going from LMP Pro-Am to the Pro class. Meanwhile, Michael Spoon and Mark Samad going from GT3 Pro down to the GT3 Pro-Am. So Ewan, a couple of big changes here going through from last week into this week. Changes up the championship equation as well in those classes.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully you can hear me fine now.
Yes,
is that okay? That's better.
That is better.
Good. To be honest, I didn't know what was wrong, so I'm glad about that.
It was very robotic.
Oh. Yeah, well, I don't know. So I'm glad it's just fixed itself, to be honest. So there we go. But yeah, that's how we say. We're only 3 rounds in, and there's still a very long way to go. But yeah, interesting to note those class changes for the drivers. Now, you might be wondering, well, is this going to be an every week thing that we're going to be reporting on different drivers moving around? Well, no, not really. I think unless there's someone absolutely outstanding in their group, either a long way ahead of everybody else or a long way behind, then and even that would have to be very, very extreme, I would expect. They're very unlikely to be moved from this point onwards, I would imagine, once we hit the first endurance race, which is always round 4 of our calendar. At least it has been in recent seasons here at the Bitepoint Racing Sports Car Challenge. That's when the drivers are really set in their classes set where they are in this field, which I think is a good thing. Plenty of little penalties you will have seen at the end of that intro video as well about the penalties from the previous race that have been applied to the previous race. So all of that applied into the previous standings that you've just seen there. So everybody is where they should be at this stage in the season. The qualifying is just coming up towards a close now. It looks like David Turnbull has taken the overall pole here with a 106.5, and in LMP2 Pro-Am, Arden Green pretty late on taking a pole position there, although having that immediately taken back off again by Harrison Holiday, and Dalton Dudley at the very end of the session also going over the line and taking the LMP2 Pro pole by the looks of things at the moment as well. We'll go through the grid in its entirety in the future because they're about to start warm-up, but while warm-up is ongoing, we'll have a look at the track and the circuit we'll be using here today for round 4 of our championship, right down here in Canada. Not far from the American border, of course, whichever way you drive. And up in sort of the hillside a little bit, really. You can see around here, a little bit middle of nowhere. But there you go. That's the Europeans' experience of North America. That's not really showing very much. Anyway, into the circuit itself. As I say, it is up and down all the way around here, and that's what gives this circuit such character. As I say, 10 corners around here, although it does kind of depend who you ask, because Moss Corner is really 3 turns with A, B, and C there. But anyway, I won't get into that. Through turn number 1, really starting as you mean to go on, pretty fast through here, almost flat out in an LMP2. Then you get on the brakes for the blind entry to turn 2, trying to spot your apex when you can't really see where you're going, and don't end up in the grass out too wide there. You will find the wall very quickly out there. Through turn 3, a little bit more simple, but very flowing through here, and this entire circuit really is all about flow. Then down for the hill through the 4th corner, straightening yourself out in time for Moss Corner here, which is a slight ramp uphill and a double apex really. So it's 5A, B and C. But really, those are distinct corners, I would argue, coming out of that hairpin there. And onto the extremely long straight, and a couple of corners that really don't matter at all, coming down the Mario Andretti straightaway on the way towards turn 8. Very, very fast corner. Again, wonderful to drive in an LMP2 through here especially, but a GT3 is pretty fast around here as well. Sort of double apex as well. You want to be a bit further to the right-hand side there, to be honest, opening up turn 9, and then a bit further to the left-hand side is to open up the final corner. Each one of those 3 corners leading into the next as you run up towards the start-finish line. So that's a lap around Mosport. As I say, so much of that circuit is just about flow, really, and getting into a rhythm around here. And yeah, it just flows very, very nicely. As I say, simple layout looking from the air, but it is more tricky, but definitely flowing once you actually get into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to put a lot of lateral load on these tires, which is going to make tire conservation something that we're going to really have to worry about, especially over the course of an endurance race, because there's a lot of long flowing corners around this racetrack. Turn 2, as you mentioned, downhill dip, can't really see, and then as you see on screen right now, the 8, 9, and 10 complex, left, right, left, getting back to the start finish line. A lot of flow, a lot of lateral load, and a lot of heat that's going to be generated through these tires. These guys are really going to have to, one, balance the speed through these corners, and also balance how much they really want to push through these corners for that tire wear.
A couple of Canadians in the field tonight, by the way, on home soil. Good evening to everybody watching on at home, by the way, and somebody pointing out to us that or at least coming in to support James Gilpin anyway on home soil. As he said, Azar Garage 132, so I'm guessing the entire team from there. Although as far as our records have, he's the only driver in that team in here tonight. But correct us if we're wrong on that one. But yeah, quite a number of Canadians in the field. We put in Mark Stamad in the GT3 Pro-Am class. Francis Crosby is of course, as well as Paul Paston of the GT3 drivers, and Jacob Sheridan, Stephen Smalley, who will be no doubt fighting for LMP2 Pro-Am honours on home soil as well. I guess I can ask you this a little bit more. I guess it relates to you a little bit better than it does for me, Frank, because I think as a country that doesn't have too many circuits that actually are visited by sports car series like this, even in the virtual world, to be honest. I mean, there's only one British circuit on this calendar, and it's the one you'd expect it to be. Round 7 is at Silverstone, but I do wonder for countries like Canada and America, where there are so many racetracks, whether it really does still matter, or if it's more of a locational thing, because you could still be a Canadian, of course, and absolutely hundreds of miles away from Mosport, which is just outside Toronto, of course.
It does matter. It means a lot, no matter, especially in an international series like what we have here, for you to be able to go home and have that country pride, being able to put your nation on your back for this one race and really wanting to show out and putting a lot of maybe undue pressure on yourself to be able to win at these kinds of racetracks. So yeah, it definitely does mean something. Now, of course, America does have the IMSA series, which goes all over around in the United States, but especially more for like the WEC, World Endurance, or for Global GT or whatever. If you do get a chance to race in your home country on an international scale and not just fully on the domestic front, that certainly does mean a lot.
That's be good for those Canadian drivers to do that. I mean, again, it's the only one on this schedule for Canada. So there you go. That's the home race, I suppose. As you mentioned, IMSA does come here very, very often. In fact, down the years, more often than I'd realised. Actually, had a couple of years off throughout COVID, but apart from that, every year since 1995, the IMSA series has been here, and a lot of years since 75. A few years off here and there, but nevertheless very, very often here. GT World Challenge America doesn't come here anymore, unfortunately, not since COVID for that either, but plenty of other racing, Trans Am stuff, NASCAR Canada, all that sort of thing.
NASCAR
here. And of course,
the Camping World Truck Series has been here as well, putting on one of the classic finishes between Cole Custer and I believe it was John Hunter Nemechek with that fight at the very end of the race. So this place does have a spot in history in NASCAR as well.
That's very good, Rico. I barely remembered, just as I was going through those, I did jog my memory that the trucks had even been here, so well done for remembering the specific finish. I've actually, just as I'm reading this, by the way, I've looked at a news thing that says it's going to return in 2027, announced last week. They were going to come back to Mosport for the truck series, this is. I don't think the Cup series is coming here as well.
No, I saw it. Now you're making me look, because I remember I saw the big thing with... I saw the big thing with the truck series was that they were going to Bowman Gray Stadium. Oh yeah, they're going to Canadian Tire right after that. Huh, son of a gun. Look at that. Just completely overlooked it.
Stumbled across that news. It was announced 9 days ago. It completely passed me by, or eight days ago. So there you go. Anyway, a bit of news for you on Motorbike Broadcasting. We are informative as well. Anyway,
yes,
the 41 car grid is about to get onto the grid here, and before we give you any more out-of-date news, let's bring you some up-to-date news and the starting grid for tonight's endurance race from Mosport tonight. It's Dalton Dudley with that late qualifying lap with a pole position in front of David Turnbull on the front row for round 4 of our championship. As you can see, just getting onto the grid front straight now. And Andrew Espinez is on the second row alongside Alan Aguilar. Starts today second in the championship, looking to chase down Dalton Dudley from 4th place here today. Housen Holday, the Pro-Am pole sitter, is then 5th in front of Thomas Gruber, recently moved from Pro-Am to Pro, but is still in 6th position overall. Arden Green and Adam Beffel are then on row 4. That's a multi-class row as well. Stephen Smalley and Scott Mowry round out the top 10. Another mixed row there. Outside the top 10 is Owen Kizak and Jacob Sheridan, who are 11th and 12th, with Andrew Fabian and Sammy Hendricks on row 7. And then the final row of LMP2s is Corey Patton and Daniel Miglin, who are at the back end of the LMP2s. There's more GT3s though to go through, and they're headed by Alexander Cortez again this week, in front of Paul Basson this time, who's gotten onto the front row with him, and not James Pearce, who's been challenging Cortez so closely in the last few weeks. Joseph Crawford and Pavel Kaska are next in line on what is row 10 overall. And outside the top 20, Justin Bock and Francis Crosby here tonight. Daniel Leaf is 23rd rather, in front of Randy Olivo. In 24th position, the Pro-Am pole sitter is Olivo. Mark Samad on home soil is starting 25th ahead of Walker Morgan, who is alongside on row 13. Row 14 is James Gilpin, also on home soil, ahead of Justin Welsh in 27th, 28th, and they're running up top 30, Anthony Mazzella, and Tim Schaefer, another driver who's recently moved class into the pros. Joe Culp is 31st in front of Tyler Crowe, then on row 16. Row 17 is John Voigt and Chris Grondin, who are beginning to bring up the rear, really. Lorenzo Rujo also moved into the pros this week, 35th in front of Tyler Smith. Row 19 is RJ Dubek and Josh Mann. And if you're wondering, by the way, where James Pearce is, he's not challenging Cortez, he's all the way back here alongside Ryan Castlebury on row 20, right down the back end of this field. And 41st, bringing up the rear entirely, is Tim Craig, who starts, as I say, from 41st position. So, yeah, it's a very, very big grid once again. And again, Frank, for the second week in a row, not a very large circuit. I do feel like this is a bit better for multi-class racing than Laguna Seca, but it is going to nevertheless feel busy for 90 minutes tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Your two key points to watch, though, throughout the night is going to be turn 2. Guys thinking they could take turn 2 a lot faster than they actually can and running off wide. Also, turn 5, Moss Corner. There's going to be a lot of hectic racing throughout the entirety of the night there, especially on the first couple laps as guys get sorted out.
Through these final couple of turns then, that pace car will pull hard right then into the pit lane and leave control of the field over to Dalton Dudley, who will get us underway tonight from Mosport. Out of the final turn up towards the lights, and he doesn't wait around, he gets going, and sleeping on the outside row there is David Turnbull, who lets a couple down his inside, Andrew Espinez and then Alan Aguilar, both coming through. Off in the background, Scott Mowry's one of them, who goes very, very wide. He covers it nicely, doesn't spin in front of the field, thankfully, and they all get through turn 1 cleanly at least, and turn 2 as well, as you can see in the background. A nice clean start for the LMP2s. The GT3s, meantime, giving 25 seconds, which is almost half a lap round here, to the other GT3s before they get going. Cortez off to a good start there. A pit lane starter, that's Ryan Castlebury, who's decided instead of going from the back of the field, he's going to start from the pit lane. And that might be a good idea, we'll see. But and a spin for Basson. He qualified on the front row of the GT3s, and he spins through turn 2.
Cold tires there through turn 2, and that's a very common place for something like that to happen. Coming through turn 2, car just slides right on out from under you. Great start, though. Let's see what happens here going into Moss.
There's Adam Green in the top 10 there of the LMP2s. A little bit of side-by-side up there as they come through Moss Corner single file, these GT3s. Looking for the first pro-am there is Randy Olivo in 23rd overall, just in front of James Gilpin. There's a bit of trouble in the background. There's a driver going across the grass there. And that is John Voigt, who's going across there for some reason and is slow on the way towards the back straight now as well. Also off the road there is Walker Morgan, who drops 14 overall places, by the way. Joseph Crawford, meantime, takes the lead away from another Mercedes, Alexander Cortez, who got absolutely smoked by the Mustang there, coming down the back straight. And change of lead. Crawford gains 2 places to lead at the end of lap 1.
Front engine vehicles both up at the front here, Ford and Mercedes. Now you've got the Acura of Powell Casca looking for a shot here on Francis Crosby, as I believe Paul Basson has gone off again. He has there in that Leighton House 001.
Whoa, that's the biggest incident I've ever seen in terms of how many people have been investigated for it.
Yes.
There was a lot of names in there. I'm not even going to attempt to go through them. You can try and work it out for yourselves. This is, by the way, the end of lap 2 for the leaders. So look how quick traffic is going to be a factor in this race here. Ryan Castlebury is the first of the GT3s they're going to catch, unless somebody goes off, and Chris Grondin and RJ Dubek have got off actually, and hopefully these guys don't stumble across something terrible here in the next couple of corners as they come through to lap some people. But and Castlebury is off the road as well. I have a bit of a feeling that when these guys come across the first bits of lap traffic, it's going to be coming across an accident at some way around this racetrack. There's a lot of investigations coming through, mostly for GT3 incidents so far.
Yeah, let's go through the first lap stuff here. This is Thomas Gruber and Scott Mowry off the start. We saw Mowry in turn 1 running off wide. This looks like a little bit of a wiggle. Nope, just pushed out wide. Same thing with Mowry, both of them going off. And then that was really it for the GT cars, for the LMPs, pardon me. Now the GTs, this is Paul Basson, as we saw live, going through turn 2. just gets out and loses the back end of that Porsche. Something very, very easy to do. And then here was the big incident. This was going out of turn 4 up the hill. Big spin off there. That's Walker Morgan. And then cars just pushing and shoving, argy-bargy all throughout turn 5, which you knew was going to be the big point here of contention. Right. Chris Grondin as well going to go off. Oh,
all these are going to show up as having smashed into each other here with the amount of guys that have made contact with each other. Your screen probably is lighting up.
Yeah, it is.
Based on this crash here. Like I say, Morgan was the one who went off the biggest there, though, towards turn 4, really, where it started. He seemed to hit the wall quite hard as well. See them all just smashing into each other here in the end. It's just a bit of a stack-up, really, coming through turn 5. Bit of a concertina effect, but actually not any major damage done. And nobody's stopped yet, by the way, in this race, which is very interesting. The leaders, though, as they come towards the end of lap 4, we've got more spins, by the way, happening, actually, on replay. But the leaders are about in traffic. We've only done 4.5 minutes, but they're into proper traffic, not just the stragglers who have been off the back of the field here, but actually the leaders. Sorry, not the leaders either, but the midfield rather. The very much populated midfield who these LMP2s are having to work their way past. You can see the positions on the windscreen of these GT3s, of course. You can see those numbers getting smaller as a spin. Meantime, Cortez has gone off the road, and so has Daniel Leaf. Cortez has dropped quite a few places, and that is Leaf spun in the Mustang on the outside. There's no further action is called for that big crash, by the way, we just saw at turn 5 on lap 1.
Yep, and looks like he's going to get a gap here is Leaf, so he will get his number 54 Ford Mustang turned back righted. Let's take a look and see what happened with Leaf here. So he goes off in turn 1. This is through turn 2 here. Contact with the Aston. Yep, a little bit.
And Cortez had earlier gone off there, so that's him rejoining, and he's very lucky he didn't get cleaned up by Leaf there. But you see that incident involving James Gilpin at the top of your screen there? That is the incident I think we've just seen there, because that looked a lot like Gilpin's Aston Martin that got into the Mustang. Haven't seen any incidents coming through involving Cortez, which leads me to believe he might have gone straight off on his own from second place there.
Yeah, nothing quite just yet, as you see where these guys are based off of class. LMP Pro-Am, Pro, GT3 Pro, and GT3 Pro-Am. This is one of the LMP Pro-Am battles that we're seeing here. Arden Green in the 530 trying to hold off Stephen Smalley there, as they are just in a mess of GT3 traffic right now.
And if you get on the wrong side, then you can lose places. Greens looks to be on the wrong side at the moment. Now gets to the right side, but there's not much space there either. Around the outside turn 4. Got to be very careful, unless you'll end up like Walker Morgan in the wall down there at turn 4. But again, just as it takes away, traffic gives, and it gives to Green, who's got a bit of a gap now because of those two GT3s that Kizak couldn't get. That's not Kizak, sorry. That's a different class driver, I think. Or is it Kizak?
Owen Kizak is right around there. He's a little bit further back, but yeah, he is there in the 37.
Some of these guys' liveries don't make sense. Oh dear, Kizak going on the outside fair on his own, completely unprovoked. And was there contact that's given him some damage here? It looks down on the front end, Kizak, at the moment. He's got to be careful of understeer. Oh dear, it's a good job that Corey Patton recognised that was going on there, because otherwise he could have been fed out wide there. What has gone on there? That small bit of contact seems to have had some very, very adverse effects indeed. There's James Gilpin, the leader of the prime class, but served with a penalty for that contact with Daniel Leaf.
Yep, and we saw that just come up across the top of the screen. There was your replay before with Leaf. So yes, leader of the GT3 Pro-Am class, currently sitting 20th overall, going to be hit with a penalty here. So can he build a margin that sort of negates that as much as possible here? There's a very big gap back to, it'd only drop him at the moment to sort of 8th place, and we're less than 10 minutes in, so you'd think over the course of an hour and a half he can start to really extend something here. Dalton Dudley is also under investigation, and he's suddenly missing from the lead, and in fact he's down in last until Adam Bethel just went off, and now he's in last place. What is going on here in this first run through of traffic? And this part of the field as well is very, very lively. You can just see in front of Dudley here, Fabian battling with Patton, I think that is, on the way towards turn 8.
Dudley all the way back here, though, because of an incident that's put him in ninth place in LMP2 Pro. And Bethel is out the race completely as a result of something going on here.
Yep, you could see you saw him flashing the lights down the straightaway. For those of you who don't know, no, that is not a sign of aggression. That is, hey, faster class car coming in. Here's a flash, letting you know what is going on. Here's what happened with Dalton. He's off. This is in turn 3. This is going into turn 3 here. So whatever has happened with Dalton, let's bring it back a little bit. This is through turn 2, getting through to GT traffic here. And,
gets slapped. That Porsche did not know he was coming through there. It's Anthony Mazzella, who's 7th in the Pro class, just did not know Dudley was going to do that. And to be honest, you'd have to ask the question, why didn't he know? Was he not looking in his mirrors at all there? Because the LMP2, he's going to try and find a way past you somewhere. I guess he was expecting him to go to the inside rather than try and run around the outside. But anyway, probably should have looked before weaving around like that. And caused the leader to go off there, Dudley to drop right to the back.
Yeah, that's one that's unfortunately on Mazzella, that's just not paying attention to what's going on around you. They believe that was a flash from one of the BMWs there, not thrilled, I guess, with one of the LMPs in front of him. And now he's going to get flashed saying, hey, I'm not all that thrilled with you either. As you make your presence felt, I'm going to make mine. This is just insane. Big contact, 37.
That is the miscommunication gone badly wrong there. And they're still taking each other off here. Oh dear, oh dear. And tempers are starting to fray here. You can see the flashing of the lights from everybody at the moment. Mazzella does indeed get that 15-second time penalty, as we expected, for that contact there, which does seem fair, unfortunately. Owen Kizak, though, very, very unhappy with James Pearce, who's on that fight back in the BMW here. He's one of our championship contenders. He is the leader after 3 rounds, and he's been put in the fence by Kizak, who was already unhappy with him for basically what to me looked like a miscommunication between the two. So Kizak first is trying to go around the outside here, but Pearce is on his line, so that's fair enough. Now Pearce goes back to the racing line, so Kizak goes back to the inside, and to his mind, Kizak hasn't been given the room. Pearce says, well, I've just been dive bombed there and then sent into the wall. That last part there is just anger, I think, from Owen Kizak.
I don't know if that was anger or them both just trying to get onto the track and Kizak just not really caring anymore about what happened with that number 23. Those kind of incidents happen all the time in multi-class racing. It's a very unfortunate part of it, just not being patient enough. And that's not to say that that Kizak wasn't patient there. Just you got to try to get around these guys, and it's hard to do in certain places. But yeah, it's just an unfortunate incident between those two for sure.
Yeah, it is. We'll see what the stewards have to say about that one. Feels like one of those incidents where they might both get in trouble, to be honest, for it. But let's see. There's Jacob Sheridan, who is meantime running in the 2nd place in the Pro class. Behind him, I think, is Thomas Gruber, who's 4th place in the Pros. It is. There's the overall look between these two and the evolution of the gap over the last 5 laps. And wide for Sheridan is going to gift the place to Gruber. So these two were previously in the same class. They're now fighting for an overall place, and there goes Gruber into the overall top 5.
Yeah, and these guys battling quite nicely here, and this is prime real estate that these guys find themselves in. Not necessarily battling with each other for a top 5 position, but you notice how calm it is? Do you notice how there's no GT cars anywhere around here in this shot? Now we'll go back a little bit as there's Corey Patton. That's going to go off a little bit in turn 5. He's just gone through all that GT traffic, and I'm sure he's probably taken a huge sigh of relief.
Yes, I imagine he is. Corey Patton just moves it over to the left-hand side here, and moving through Andrew Fabian on the fight back here. Still 9th in the Pro class, but not getting through there. Starting to back out at the sight of that Mustang. Now, that will be the worst run through traffic in terms of how busy it is for these LMP2s. That's not to say that the other ones are going to be quiet by any means. No. And in fact, it will be pretty much constant in fact, as far as working their way through. That is Crawford, by the way, who is the first place GT3, so therefore the last that the prototypes have to overtake. But it will never be as close together and never be as packed up as that again. However, there will still be a lot of drivers in this race, and pretty much everybody I can see who's come into pit lane. I mean, Pearce and Castleberry have got some quite long stops, but everybody else who's been in has come back out again. So we have still got nearly 40 cars. They are a bit more spread out than earlier, but it's still the same amount of cars for these LMP2s to work past. Although, like I say, that is the worst of it they've just done there.
Yeah, Aiden Bethel right now is the only car that's being shown as out of the race, one of the LMP pros here in this race. And you got one stop-and-go penalty for Kizik, I believe that is?
Yeah, it is. Avoidable contact and failure to hold the brakes after a collision. I think that the failure, as you were talking about, to really care what actually happened to the GT3 goes punished. So that's a 0-second stop and hold as far as that. So just a stop go, not with a second time to it. So just to drive through, then stop in your box and then get going again. I think, and that can be assigned through iRacing, unlike the 15-second time penalties, which are assigned by us after the race, because that will have to serve that right now. Already last in the Pro-Ams, going to be even further back. And
Harrison
just
Holiday's.
Harrison Holiday off the road, spinning through turn 5, slips all the way off the podium from the race lead.
Yep, down into P5. He's got a meatball flag too, so he has hit something going up the hill there. He's got that back end.
Wrong with him.
Might have cracked something in the back end, and already him and Lee looking at that between him and Daniel Leith.
That's very strange, very harsh, I would say, to Harrison Holiday there, to give him a meatball for that. He'd say that rear engine cover does look a bit cracked in some way, but it's very weird. So off through turn 5, then he spins right at the end of it. And he tries to spin it round in one go and slams into a Mustang. Now, there's Daniel Leith in a Mustang in the pit lane right now. I wonder whether connecting the dots there is...
Yeah, that was...
1 plus 1 has added 2 there, or made 2 there. He's just tried to spin it back round again too quickly here, Holiday, and Leith tries to get through on the right hand side, and I think he was right to, but Holiday's back end kicks out there as he's trying to spin round in one go. No further action given by race control, but I think Leith will feel a bit hard done by.
Yeah, definitely. And for Holiday, that's that hard hit to the left rear. That's what's going to cause the meatball flag, as we see Schaefer and Olivo going at it again here. This is for 19th and 20th place overall. Schaefer right now 3rd in the GT Pro. Olivo 2nd in Pro-Am. As he's got a couple of guys breathing down his neck. Oh, somebody
Smoke
off.
Screen in front of them. And
I think that's Leith again.
It is again, I think, yeah. Daniel Leith is having a very difficult evening. Fair play for him for continuing, but he's got more than an hour of this. If his luck continues the way it's going at the moment, he's going to be very miserable in 75 minutes' time, I suspect. But let's hope it does turn around for him in the next few moments. Speaking of turning around for you, by the way, Dalton Dudley has managed to get up the field just a little bit now, 7th place, and putting the pressure on to Scott Mowry here for 6th place in class. It just shows if you're going to have your issue in the season, for a race with issues in the season, then make it the endurance race, because there's not only just over 40 minutes to go for Dudley to regain these places. He's got more than an hour, and that means we can't even write him off for the race win, I wouldn't say, tonight yet.
No, exactly right, and especially when you add pit strategy into it. I mean, there are guys that are saving their tires right now. They're trying not to lose as much ground as they could potentially lose here. So, I mean, there are ways you can make this up, especially if there's a case where you get a safety car coming through. Now, they haven't, as I was told, in 2 years, they have not yet thrown a single safety car in this series, but they were expecting to have one tonight at some point because of incident. But it turns out that everything went a lot cleaner as Dudley gets around Scott Mowry. That's for 6th place in the GT Pro-Am class and for 9th overall.
I mean, normally I'd say that, we're past lap 1, so we're probably in the clear, but it's one of the few circuits where I wouldn't quite go say that.
Was that Mowry?
Well, Mowry goes off and straight back on again, much in the same way as he did on lap 1. He's quite good at getting back on the racetrack without crashing after going off in the grass. Not a skill you really want to have, but it is It is something he possesses, clearly, because he's done it on a couple of occasions now.
He had a couple of incidents at Laguna Seca last week as well, running off circuit and coming back on.
It is a skill worth having, although
yes, you do need it for sure.
Yes,
getting through traffic is another one you want to have.
This is all very busy here. Sheridan, by the way, are battling here with Smalley. Only 11 seconds off of Espinez, leading the overall race here. The Pro performing very, very well tonight. Such is the closest of the field. They're coming through the GT3s again. And Sheridan very much under pressure here for this race lead. That's Smalley off the road there, surely. Oh, he's kept it on. He's just about kept it on. He clipped the grass out there and he just about kept it on. Green was close to them as well. Has lost some time in that traffic there. The gap extends, but Smalley's lucky to still be even only a second and a half behind, because it looked like he was straight off through turn 2 there.
And you can see all the changes just by looking through those little wheel wells there in this LMP2. We're on board with Jacob Sheridan right now, current leader in the GT3, the LMP Pro-Am, sorry. But you see the suspension and how that suspension's working and just how much compression that this car goes through. And with cars like these that revolve so much with ground effect and how sucked to the ground you need to have these cars, you're feeling every single millimeter of that car moving up and down around this racetrack.
It's over the line again. Sheridan will watch behind as he slips through on a couple of GT3s just at the right moment again. And he extends that gap, but once again, and Smalley has some difficult decisions to make through turn 2, although to be fair, so does Sheridan actually, as it turned out. Smalley got the better run through turn 2, and look at that group there in GT3. It involves the battle for third place in GT3 Pro, I think. Tim Schaefer, Justin Bock, Alexander Cortez involved. Paul Basson and Francis Crosby are side by side. Oh, they're actually a bit further up, these guys.
There's Schaefer right
change
there.
For 6th place. There is Schaefer. Then Bock and Cortez will be nose to tail just behind through turn 5. There they are now, coming out of turn 5. And Cortez very much on the comeback drive here after going off through turn 2 earlier on, having to make up and make some more passes compared to what he's seen in the past in this season. He pulls to the left-hand side of Bock, unsure of where these LMP2s are really going here. They're going to be one down the inside here, making it 3 wide, or quite not just yet. Bock, though, defends the inside and keeps Cortez behind him.
No, that's one where if you're an LMP, you really have to let off and let these guys race. I know you have the class lead in front of you as theirs, but as an LMP driver, you have to realize that they are battling for position in their class, and they're not necessarily paying attention to where you are and what you're doing. So you may have to cut them a little bit of extra slack if you don't want your race completely ruined.
I've got to say, and I don't want to sound like as much of a criticism as it might come out like, but the miscommunications that some of these prototype drivers are having with GT drivers are very avoidable. I mean,
yes,
they need to make it just in some places a little bit clearer what they're trying to do. Oh my word, that's a classic example of the different car speed through different corners. A GT3 with ABS able to go deep into Moss corner, an LMP2 not able to do that at such low speeds, and Bock did a good job to not spin the prototype there. Although it was in his own interest, of course, because that would have only hindered his race further and maybe given him a penalty. There he is, Justin Bock. We no doubt looking in those mirrors again. There's a 3 wide moment. One of the LMP2s goes past just as Cortez is trying to go past 2. Cortez in the end backs out of it again as the LMP2 kamikazes their way through these final few corners again.
That I think was a certified sniffing moment right there. Is that BMW, I'm sure, could smell what that LMP had for lunch with how close he was going up through turn 5. But this is a fantastic battle right here for the final podium spot at GT3 Pro. Neither one of these guys giving an inch, getting lapped by faster traffic, and they're all still line astern with each other.
Oh dear, look at that. Bock trying to get down the inside there of Schaefer, who defended well. And Cortez coming on the outside here is going to get the run down the hill. But again, there's traffic which is going to hinder him from doing that. Traffic with its windscreen wiper on for some reason. It's certainly not raining. We don't need that to add into this at the moment. Down the inside of Cortez and through, so it's going to be just split apart for a moment. On this lap, by the way, Andrew Espinez has had trouble because he's now behind David Turnbull. Change for the overall lead here. And I believe it is because of an incident for the previous race leader, Andrew Espinez.
Here it is, we're on board. This is up through Moss at turn 5, and Espinez knew he was going to hit that GT that went off ahead of him, and if he did not slam the brakes on, so that was salvage. That was live to fight another day right there from Espinez.
I think it was RJ Dubek off in front, actually going a third lap down already at this stage. As you say, was choosing there between hitting the Lamborghini or spinning. Unfortunately, chose spinning because that did less damage, although he did lose the race lead. His car remains undamaged at least. Green gets past Smalley meantime for second in LMP2 Pro-Am right now as well. It's been a very, very busy first half an hour, and there goes Justin Bock this time. Oh, he's gone straight off! Seeing the opportunity through turn 3, he broke way too late for the outside line that he was on, and he goes straight off. Cortez gets past him and past Schaefer, who was slow on the exit as well, and Cortez moves up 2 places, Bock moves down, and so does Schaefer. That was a moment there where he saw the 3rd place in his hands, and he just misjudged it through turn 3.
Yeah, Leith also had an off-track moment. Here it is. This is going up through turn 3. Way too hot into that corner. Lucky to... Oh, no, he did touch that tire bundle just a little bit. Nothing too crazy. But a solid attempt, a desperation dive, still with more than an hour to go here in this race for Bock. So, yeah, not the greatest of moves to make, but he also has plenty of time to recover.
Yeah, absolutely. More of a regular length race in this series. Also moving past him there, by the way, was Sam at the 2nd place Pro-Am at the moment. Or can we say net race leader with Gilpin's penalty hanging over him still? We'll figure that one out when we get towards the end of this race, as David Turnbull comes through the final few corners. 2.5 seconds out front, and with a moment's clear air. Must be a very nice feeling, this, just to be out front completely on your own. This might be an entire lap without traffic, by the way. We'll see what the lap times are saying at the end of this one here. Looking for a 1:07 if it's out of traffic. No, it's a low 8, so it might have been. And Espinez was just a 10th or so quicker that time around, looking to try and chase down Turnbull here for the race lead.
Yep, there you see the 2 just in front. Espinez has been quicker since losing that ground. You see the ground lost on lap 20. But David Turnbull, you can see 108.39, 867, 853, 860, 826. He has been very, very consistent, which is something you certainly want to see, as I believe Holliday's just got a penalty there.
Yes, and it was for contact with Tyler Smith. We've been told by Jason Holland that it's worth going back to have a look if you've got it, because it was quite big contact. Here we go. So this is what Holliday's got a penalty for. Goodness me, couldn't be at a higher speed point either.
It's going into the S's, the final couple corners.
Oh my goodness.
Jump the curb.
You can make that work. It was a bit late from Holiday. I would have preferred to see him go around the outside, to be honest, just use the downforce. But he goes late on the inside, and that's fine. But smashing the curb like this is not going to work. And wow, they spin around at super high speed. Lucky that Smith, by the way, came in straight after that and just took his fast repair, I presume. Harrison Holiday obviously had already been in by that point, so will be carrying any damage that was picked up in that incident now.
Alexander Cortez has gone around Tim Schaefer. He's also gone around James Gilpin, who is the GT Pro-Am leader, and now Schaefer coming under pressure from Samad, I believe that is.
Yep, it is. Mark Samad, who's in 2nd place in the Pro-Am class, trying to chase down Gilpin. That's why he's so eager to get past a pro driver. And of course, Schaefer was a Pro-Am up until a week ago when he was moved up to the pros in Lorenzo Rujo. In fact, those two were very dominant at 1 or 2 of the races of the first 3. But some races they will slip back into position they held before. Wow, that was close. Samad nearly off in the grass there as he sets his sights on Gilpin out front.
That's about as close as you can get to going off course without actually suffering any of the consequences of going off course. That was insanely close for Samad, as I believe that is Lorenzo Arujo down pit road here a little early. Potentially look at a 2-stop, go quarter. Well, a third, sorry.
Yeah. I mean, interesting to see how far they can actually go. We've been told 32 laps on a tank for the LMP2s and 24 for 24. 24 for the GT3s. Now they're not quite there yet, only a couple of laps away. But I believe it's correct that the pit windows have been quite tight this season, really, compared to previous ones. Normally it's been quite open, really. But an endurance race normally requires 2 pit stops over the course of the day. The fuel restrictions, at least if things have stayed the same as previous seasons, they don't change, but just because it's a longer race, they just end up requiring a second pit stop, and that does normally mean more flexibility with strategy. But if these GT3s can only go 24 laps, then they've got, or at least Crawford has got a lap and a half to go until he has to make his first pit stop, and we're only just at 1/3 distance, as you say, to split this into thirds. So that's quite tight, if that is indeed the correct figure for GT3. That's quite tight for them, really, for their 2 stops today.
Yeah, I believe they have less of fuel load than the LMPs do. The LMPs do burn at a little bit of a higher rate, so the less of fuel load might be...
And smaller tank, of course.
Yeah, which is probably what's doing it. I did not realize that this is a battle here for the race lead, as car 517, that would be one of the GT3s. That's Josh Mann, getting a 15-second penalty.
Currently in pit lane for a long stop, so I wonder whether there's contact there. That's close. Schaefer trying to get past Gilpin and get out the way of this Pro-Am leading fight, but Gilpin wants to keep him there. He wants that safety net of a driver between him and his Pro-Am rival. It is a leading fight between Gilpin and Samad, and round the outside from Schaefer, gets in the inside at turn 2. And Gilpin's got to be careful he doesn't go straight off. He does manage that at least. But Gilpin's buffer to the others in Pro-Am is gone. And now he'll have to defend Samad on his own.
The leading car in that GT Pro-Am class has Samad right behind him. Going up here into Moss Corner, up in turn 5. You also have the overall race leader of Turnbull coming there as well. Probably the worst place. Now, I'm more frustrated if I'm Gilpin. I'm like, you couldn't catch me in a worse spot, could you have? Thank you very much for that.
Whoa, this is what I mean about the communication. I guess it's both parties, but what are they doing there? It's on a straight, for goodness sake. They nearly crashed into each other on a straight. Anyway,
that's needing to be just a lot more predictable. It's on the faster car to get past you. Just hold your line, be predictable, and stuff like that won't happen. That was very unpredictable from Gilpin.
Yeah, and not. I don't think he was doing it to make it easier, to be honest, for the LMP2. Thinking about the line that he needs towards turn 8. But sometimes you got to accept that you're not going to have the right line. And in any case, it didn't really matter because it was miles before the corner anyway. But anyway, here comes Thomas Gruber. I'd love it when that happened.
Sharing a pit stall.
And they're sharing a pit stall like that, yeah. It's one of my favourite things. Gruber stops, and that will signal potentially the start for LMP2s as well, who we're told can go 32 laps. So 4 after this one for David Turnbull, who'll be looking over his shoulder increasingly here at a closing Espinez, not deterred by his spin through turn 5 a few moments ago. He's quicker than Turnbull, and he's only a second behind now.
Well, the Lamborghini's in between them. It's a 1.2 second gap, so it's very much attainable. And you're right, Ewan. It was about 0.4 of a second quicker, 3.5 of a second quicker. Last time around was Espinez. This time around, only about 1/10 quicker, as I believe Tyler Crow has had an issue in car number 77's nose is bent up a little bit, especially on that left front.
Yeah, it is. Let's see if we can find out why. Oh, already off the road through turn 5 here, and is he going to get smacked by somebody? Yep.
Maybe not. Just
back up. Oh no, he didn't get hit by anybody.
So that damage from earlier.
Yeah, must have done. But, thankfully avoided by everybody there. Coming past him. They go past the half an hour mark, and a lot of these GT3s are continuing on, by the way, so we'll get a proper gauge as to what lap they have to come in very soon. But You need to make it to 45 minutes into this race if you're going to make it a one-stop race, and that looks very unattainable for driver of either class at the moment.
Here it's Sammy Hendricks. He is the biggest mover of this race. He and Tim Schaefer both up 5 positions in their class, so he has done a phenomenal job, just outside of a podium position and not too far away from it either, only about a second and a half between himself and Alan Aguilar, who absolutely dominated last week at Laguna Seca.
Yeah, moved to within 6 points of Dalton Dudley. Been told that Josh Mann versus John Voigt's incident was quite a large one as well. It's forced a long stop from Voigt on lap 22 and a very long one from Josh Mann of over 4 minutes. As they get back out, look at this, goodness me, so many GT3s in the way here, running either side of the racetrack. And the LMP2s picking their way left and right to try and get past at the moment. There is Dudley, the championship leader in here, now in the top 5, trying to get past Hendricks on the way towards Moss Corner here. Well, that isn't Hendricks, just in front, I don't think. But in any case, and indeed Daniel Miglin involved in this group is not involved in the fight either, a lap down from 9th.
Yeah, he came into pit a couple of laps ago, so Miglin, and that also doesn't help your cause as you're trying to get through this GT traffic, this slower traffic here, and you got one blinking, so you don't know where he is to begin with. That's always fun.
The space given by Schaefer there for Miglin to get through. Oh, he's went wide there. And now James Gilpin's in from the lead in the GT3 Pro-Am, so that's what the first of the top names you'd say, making unless I've forgotten anybody, making a pit stop really here. And obviously can't serve his penalty during the pit stops. He's going to have to serve it at the end of the race. You'd rather do it, I mean, in terms of actual time loss, you do lose less serving it at the end, but it's very difficult for him to sort of work out really where he is and should be at this stage if he obviously can't serve it mid-race, as is the case. And by the way, the stop-go penalty was the first in league history, apparently, that we saw earlier on. So there you go, bit of history for you there for Owen Kizak with that stop-and-go penalty earlier on in this race.
There you go. Sammy Hendricks in and out of pit road as well, a 36-second stop for that LMP. And Jacob Sheridan right now, the LMP Pro-Am leader, coming down into pit road. He will surrender that to Arden Green, now 4th and 5th overall in this race.
So Sheridan, again, another one of the big names from LMP2 ready to come in here. Scott Mowry does as well from the top 5, so the dominoes are going to start to fall here very quickly indeed. And again, they're nearly 10 minutes short of the moment at which they can get to the end with just one stop today. I'll say and reiterate, it's not going to happen. Into Moss Corner, and Green with a bit more traffic to negotiate here as the Pro-Am leader, just briefly while he is. I don't know if there's anybody in the Pro-Am class, maybe there's 1 or 2 of them, but it feels like all 6 of those have led at some point in this race here today, such as the type of race we've had in LMP2 Pro-Am so far.
Yeah, it has been very, very good. Espinez coming in, Aguilar coming in as well, P2 and 3 overall. David Turnbull going a little bit longer here in his Dallara, P217. Working through a little bit more traffic. There's one of the Ferrari 296s. Stephen Smalley in, Dalton Dudley in. So pretty much all the LMPs deciding that now is the time. Gruber has already come down pit road. Same thing with Sammy Hendricks. Sheridan, Holiday we've seen a little bit earlier on. So Turnbull and Arden Green right now 1 and 2 in this race. The only 2 that have yet to pit, and Corey Patton as well out of the LMP class.
We've got to be running out of fuel now for some of these drivers who are continuing on here. David Turnbull, the only one in LMP2 Pro just at the moment, as he slips down the inside of Mustang there, making it clear early enough that he was going to be doing that, and he gets away with it as a result. And straight in to the pit lane here. A little bit careful on the brakes, you got to be there so you don't go flying back onto the racetrack again accidentally, but gets it slowed down in time. Now, 33 seconds was the stop from Thomas Gruber, who was now effectively second place. Andrew Espinez's stop was the longest of anybody inside the top 7 at 49 seconds. So Gruber takes over the chase of David Turnbull here. Maybe he's going to take over the race lead after this stop is done.
I wonder if Espinez took tires anticipating that he is going to have to stop later and get a shorter fuel stop than everyone else. Meanwhile, everyone is banking that their tires are they're going to try to take time. I'm not sure, because that's interesting to have a 49-second stop. Jacob Sheridan also had a long stop. He went 48 seconds. Smalley was 58 seconds. And I believe that strategy might have just gone out the window, as, yep, there's Espinez right there.
And he's had more trouble out of turn 5 as well. So, yeah, this is a very, very costly moment for him. This does look like a cold tyre spin, really. Yes, yep. It does.
And Arujo right there knocks him right in the side, and that's going to really upset the ground effect on this car and the aerodynamics as well.
I'd like to know what everyone else thinks, but even for an hour and a half race, I think taking tyres is a big disadvantage, given it costs you so much time in this series. The track temperature today, 73 degrees Fahrenheit. It's hardly a scorcher. I know the circuit is quite high tyre wear in terms of the corners that are round here, but even in 90 minutes, I don't think tyres are really worth it here for the 20-second time loss that they create.
It depends on the... It depends on the setup of the car. There are some setups like you have for the Daytona 24s. We see Aguilar getting around Corey Patton there. Corey Patton right now your current leader in LMP2 Pro-Am, who's coming down to pit road. He's the last of the LMPs to do so. But if like the IMSA Daytona setup that you have for the IMSA official series is a little bit different, and the car handles and reacts a little bit different than what the Daytona event, the 24 hours of Daytona event is. The tire is a little bit different. Big incident there. That's Sheridan.
And Holiday was already damaged and going... what a mess. What a mess that was. Somebody trying to come into the pit lane. Is that Samad from the Pro-Ams?
It might have been Tyler
no.
Crow. Let's take a look here and see. Yeah, it was Tyler Crow. Just
it's Crow trying to come in the pit lane, and Sheridan doesn't realise it. Then comes firing into the Mustang, who comes out in front. And then who's this Mercedes here?
I think that's,
they get involved.
I think that's Walker Morgan.
Yeah, he's the only Mercedes in until Alexander Cortez comes in as well. But again, classic miscommunication. And to be fair, that can happen if you're in a multi-class race or not. But nevertheless, and Morgan wouldn't have known what was happening here. Two drivers tried to kill him on the way into pit lane there. But yeah, that was classic miscommunication there. Sheridan didn't realise that the Mustang was coming in there at all. And so they made contact as they did.
Yeah, and that's one where, I mean, you can kind of wiggle down this long straightaway. That's what I used to do in the Tuesday and in the Thursday night league, the Tuesday and Thursday night league that we used to broadcast with ASR. Was if I was coming down pit road, instead of announcing it, if there was a car near me, I would go to the bottom of the racetrack down the backstretch, kind of swing from the outside of 2 down to the bottom, and then come back up and take the corner, or go down pit road that way. So there are little signals that you can do, but that's just a very unfortunate situation for those two.
I mean, that was obviously an oval series where there were no road courses, but
yeah.
I feel like it's more of an understood and well-used thing in oval racing to tell other people that you're going down pit lane so that sort of thing doesn't happen. I don't think like it really is much of a thing in road courses quite as much, because after all, there's not many places where that sort of thing is a problem. Thankfully, this is one of those places, and again, this is the sort of thing that I say it can happen, single class. Actually, it's more likely to happen in multi-class because That's the way you pass in an LMP2 on a GT there. Watch this here. Well, Holdo doesn't do it there, but you see the chance that he had to do it there. He can go wide through turn 9 to get the inside at 10, the final corner. Didn't do it there, but you can see where it comes from. It just seems to be less of an understood thing that you tell each other that you're coming into pit lane for whatever reason, and in road course racing.
Yeah, and Sammy Hendricks, who we're going to ride on board with here throughout the rest of this lap. 40-second stop-go penalty for Kizik for a... Oh, watch out! I think that was Espinez and Holiday.
Oh, Espinez has dropped miles down.
Yep, it was.
We're sure he's put dry tyres on. He's driving around like someone on wets.
It's one of the McLarens off.
That's Justin Welsh, who is going very strangely slowly at the moment. And that, by the way, pushed Harrison Holiday over the incident limit. The LMP2 Pro-Am race leader is going to have to come down pit lane.
I think Kizik has a penalty as well. Patton's in pit road. He had a meatball. As we see Justin Welsh here. I want to see what happened with Welsh for that 40-second penalty. It said it was on pit entry, unsafe pit entry.
Something about the pit lane, yeah. And that black flag for Kizik, by the way, is indeed that penalty that's been assigned by race control. The stop and goes can be assigned properly. Espinez involved with 3 other drivers, by the way. I wonder whether indeed Welsh might be part of that story. In fact, there's a lot to look through here in the next couple of moments as we go to Culp and Voigt fighting for 4th place here in the primes. A long way behind the top 3 in this race, so nearly half a minute behind them.
Yeah, these guys right now, the closest battle on track. This is 4th and 5th in the GT3 Pro-Am class for 26th and 7th overall. Sheridan getting a 15-second penalty with car number 77. That was Tyler Crow. That was the pit entry. Look at the 33 on the grass.
Goodness me.
My goodness. Patience is at an all-time low right now.
Well, everyone's in a rush at the moment, that's for sure. Who is in that one at the moment? I couldn't spot...
That's Hendricks, that was. Sammy Hendricks.
So the top 5 running Hendricks at the moment. Side by side down the hill there. Cook stays in front of Voigt. Only for a moment. There's Sheridan and Green. So I don't know if we fully understand. And here we go. Sheridan in big traffic here. Actually deals with that very well. Not sure if we've quite understood at the moment what's been happening to Espinez and for Holiday in the last couple of moments as well. Though maybe he just went off the road briefly to give him that penalty. But a couple of incidents that have really reshaped these races just a little bit here.
Still looking for the incident with Welsh, and I'm going to, there's something here that we're going to go to. I'm not quite sure what it is, but this is an off track with Welsh. Oh, this is not for pit entry. I think this is where we picked up Welsh going slowly. There's contact with one of the LMPs. There's Sheridan getting involved there.
And that's Espinez as well, who was very unlucky to get involved in that, actually.
I think that was where... I think that was the one that we had picked up when we were riding on board with Sheridan.
Yeah. Got the back end of that one.
Trying to find
no further
Welsh.
action, just come up across the top there for that one. And I think that's probably right. Can't blame Espinez's cold tyres for that one, but just a bit of unfortunate racing, really. Sheridan goes wide now around turn 3. And Green not able to take advantage quite there. Wanted to go the other side of that portion and wasn't having it. So Green stays behind, but Sheridan just opening the door there.
All right, I think we might have, there's Arden Green there. 1st and 2nd for the Pro-Am class. Let's see, I think this is the pit entry with Welsh here. Not gonna see, here comes the pit entry up here. I'm not sure. It said if I remember right, it said something to do with the pits for Welsh.
Yeah. Well, I thought Kizik was involved with the pit entry, but last stop, by the way, was on lap 34, but that would have been a serving penalty because he's actually come in and served that 40-second time penalty. Hearing from Jason Holland that Owen missed pit entry and turned in late and hit Crosby apparently. So not just in Welsh, he was not involved in that.
Okay. I think I got focused on. I think I focused on Welsh then when we saw him off circuit.
It was Welsh, it was Owen. That's two contradicting messages in the same second there from Jason Holland. Thanks for that.
All right, let's see if...
Owen Welsh? Is there somebody I'm not aware of?
Let's see. All right, so here's Owen Kizik. This is him coming in towards pit road. This might be him serving the penalty, because that's... Yeah, okay,
that's
so I'll stop trying
to... no, Holland said it wasn't Welsh. There we go. Owen Welsh. There we go. Anyway, it's...
Owen is Welsh?
Don't start things like this as well. Good grief. You're getting all sorts of trouble here.
Shows he's American.
Right. Anyway, we'll not rub it in further through Owen Kizik. He's had a very difficult evening so far. Anyway, back to the battle for the lead in LMP2 Pro.
Put them off. It took 2 weeks.
Again. This has been quite some palaver. Anyway, Sheridan leading just in front of Green. Espinez just back in front of them again, but looks pretty beat up actually by that incident we saw not that long ago through turn 3, and not quite been reeled in by these two just yet. But that might be because they're fighting here and fighting for a class lead. And that purple LMP2 in the background, by the way, is Stephen Smalley, who's getting into this right now as well. A 3-driver battle with what normally would be 10 minutes to go. Here it's still 40 minutes left in this endurance race tonight.
Oh my goodness, GT cars all over the show. Let's try to get lined up here a little bit. They do watch out. That's a common pinch point there. That BMW wanting to get back down to the inside, trying to get that straight run that he possibly can off that corner. But right now, this is, as much as you want to take advantage of this, if you're Arden Green, you can't, because it'd be way too dangerous, not just for somebody else's race, but for yours moreover.
It's out of turn 5. Sheridan looks like he's got a decent exit here, but Green is definitely in the slipstream. I wonder if Sheridan's picking up the faintest bit of tow from Espinez at the moment. Sergio Dubek's under investigation at the moment. Green is not quite close enough just yet to make this happen. Slow GT3 on the entry here, but that is just the speed difference between them. Now you're going to see the pass through turn 9. This is where you can get into trouble with pit entry, but don't forget it was Sheridan earlier who made that contact with Tyler Crowe on the way into pit entry, and not deterred from doing that again, as he just did there to get down the inside for the final corner.
That was Randy Olivo there in the number 25 McLaren, second place in the GT Pro-Am class. And you can see just how inviting that corner is to go and really throw it in there. You go out wide, bring it back around. This corner here, same thing. This corner is a lot longer when you're in the car than it looks. You have to be really patient through these first couple of corners, and then big compression here going up into the Moss corner. Try to hit that apex perfectly, which Arden Green does. Get a good run on Sheridan. Getting an apex like that makes the difference coming down this long straightaway before you get to the S's to complete the lap.
Here comes Green in the slipstream and showing the outside line. They're not quite, and he backs out of it there, just deciding that now is not the time for that move. Again, they see some more GT3s, and they'll get past some more GT3s in the opening part of this lap. Good run from Green coming out of the final corner again, but he needs the rub of the green through traffic here. And he goes to the inside now. Does that Sheridan get the outside space? He does. Green goes the other way in hopes that the Mercedes was going to pull out to the normal racing line. That didn't quite happen this time round. Green is not able to get past Jacob Sheridan here. And mainly, or maybe, sorry, that is mainly down to the traffic just blocking his path at the moment. It is a thing about traffic sometimes. It can actually stop you from making moves if it's so thick that you're just following the driver in front of you back past everybody through turn 5. The 3 of them are pretty much locked together now as they come onto the back straight again.
After these last 2 weeks, I think these guys are going to be wondering when the heck Le Mans is coming up on the schedule. Just a big racetrack that you could breathe a little bit. These last 2 races have been torture for these guys as far as just not having any room to breathe at all. And again, now you add in for these 3 a 3-way battle here for the race lead in the LMP Pro-Am class.
It doesn't get any easier, as we talked about the head of last week. It felt like the start of a real run of races here, because Laguna Seca, Mosport, Bathurst, Suzuka, all back-to-back, which is a very, very difficult schedule indeed for LMP2 GT3 racing, but still more than 40 drivers undeterred going into battle each week, which is absolutely fantastic to see. Still, at the moment, 35 of them running. It looks like we have lost Scott Murray actually in the last couple of moments, and Justin Welsh as well, so no more confusion over him. He's definitely out the race at the moment. As we almost hit the hour mark, a normal distance, a normal length of race for the Bitepoint Racing Sports Car Challenge has just been hit, and we've still got 30 minutes to go once we get there. Down the back straight, Green biding his time once again here, hanging out behind Sheridan, probably fuel saving by this point.
Yeah, could be doing that for sure. Stephen Smalley's looking to put a little bit more of the pressure on. Sheridan is going to come down pit road here, so we're a little bit short of that 1/3 mark. I wonder if Sheridan, he took a 48-second stop last time around, so I'm not sure. Maybe he's coming in for tires this time by, because Arden Green and Stephen Smalley both had 10-second stops that were 10-second longer stops the first time through. So Arden Green now inheriting the race lead in the LMP Pro-Am class. Nothing changing up front. David Turnbull still leading Thomas Gruber for the overall. Joseph Crawford leading Alexander Cortez by 10 seconds in the GT3 Pro class. And Mark Samad, who I believe just had an off-track moment with Josh Mann, still leading in the GT3 Pro-Ams.
Stop's taking a while for Sheridan.
Yep, still
He's taking tyres.
44 seconds.
Is that up him up on his jacks there? Can't quite
That
see.
would be him, the furthest back car.
He
There he
didn't
goes.
drop off any jacks there though. So 54 seconds. It's a very long stop. I'm not entirely sure why. I'm not sure it rules quite well there with Jacob Sheridan, but I can't think what would be wrong really after the I mean, he's held off those two, Green and Smalley, quite easily for the last few laps. I don't really know what's wrong with him there.
Might have taken a little bit of extra fuel. Maybe his shorter fuel stop was right there. This was an incident here with Tim Craig, which is why we're taking a look at him. Who got a little bit of a bump going up the hill initially and then just straight off.
Schaefer and Josh Mann, Tim Schaefer and Josh Mann have also had an incident by the looks of things. They're both being investigated. Good to see Craig still in the race though. Last running driver still at the moment. Gaining a few more points because of that. John Voigt now into the pit lane. Some of these guys are going to begin to pick up incident points if they've not been too careful over the course of the race so far.
He does have a black flag, does Voigt, so he could be coming in to fill that requirement. Josh Mann has been in pits for the last 3 minutes. He has a black flag. Owen Kizik has a meatball flag. He has been on pit road for the last 6.5 minutes. And there is the 29 of Voigt going a drive-through. So he has served his black flag requirement.
As indeed, and drops down the field accordingly. In class there, Mark Samad leading the way. As James Gilpin is third in class, but not going to drop any further than that despite his penalty. The gap over 30 seconds right now to him. Morgan. Does have Crosby right behind him, yeah. Pro driver versus pro-am here, so no points lost, although overall positions lost. I suspect just Crosby goes in. Now Crosby was the one, by the way, who was hit by Owen Kizak, by the way, in that pit entry thing ages ago, and clearly no after effects for him at the moment, as his Lamborghini looks pretty much fine.
If it's a Lamborghini, it's bound to look pretty much fine. If it's a Ferrari, though, it's bound to look exquisite in every way, usually. 15-second time penalty for car number 41. That'd be Andrew Fabian for blocking and impeding on a blue flag. Not getting out of the way quick enough on a LMP coming to lap him.
That Ferrari thing, by the way, made it sound like you were quoting from some sort of film or something.
No, that's just personal feeling.
Okay. I thought you were springing pop culture on me, in which case...
No.
I was out. I mean, so I can't even recognise when it is and not. That's how bad it is. Here goes Francis Crosby down the inside of James Gilpin quite easily there. Again, they're not in the same class, so they're bound to give each other a little bit of space. And Crosby moves up. These two, less space given, probably. Hendrick's been caught by Espinez, who really doesn't seem very affected by the damage to the front end of that LMP2. He'll be waiting for the opportunity to come in, and I'd imagine he'll be in quite soon to repair the damage, or maybe he won't, because it doesn't seem to be having too much of an effect. As Espinez, a previous race leader here tonight, is looking at least to get back in the top 5 again.
It's really funny how you get in racing, because like if you wreck in an oval race and you don't have time to fix the damage, and of course it's a night where you have a bad night, so you're going to run green the whole race when you need help. You get so used to running the car damaged that you actually drive worse when it's fixed, because you're not used to it anymore. You're so used to fighting the way a broken car is supposed to handle. And Espinez running laps just as quick as he was without that right front damage. So I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't worry too much about it.
Yeah, looks like he's just going to carry on. He's nowhere near close enough again here. That's not particularly the damage's fault. As we do officially cross an hour, you may well note this circuit so short, loads and loads of laps around here. 52 would have been completed in a normal distance race, an hour-long race. We're going to get well over 70 as a result of the extra half hour here, getting closer towards 80 in fact. 15-second time penalty for Schaefer meantime, who was also just gone off the road, dropping down now behind some more Pro-Ams, the class he was previously in. So black flag next to his name is Espinez, who must have hit the instant limit as well, which is happening with an alarming frequency now.
Oh, this is the point you're going to get it as well. I mean, guys, if we're an hour into this race, still have a half hour to go. I'm sure guys in traffic are starting to get a lot more frustrated. Here's a battle for third place in class between Jacob Sheridan, who came into pit. Harrison Holliday has also come into pit. Holliday jumping Sheridan with a 35-second pit stop. So that's why these two are in the order that they're in.
Very strange what's been happening through the pit stops today. Sheridan's stop last time, completely unexplainable to me anyway. Don't know why he was in there for so long. And it could be explained maybe by tyres, but it's too long really for the tyres, so it doesn't really make sense. Through the final turn, he's got a better line here though on Holiday. He feels compelled to just defend a little bit towards turn number 1, but it's a little bit of a fourth battle in that sense, with the different pit stop times and whatever. These two will be going to the end though, I imagine, fighting for third position, while Smalley and Green, I'd imagine, will be fighting for first and second.
P2 overall coming into pit road now at the hour and 2 minute mark. So Gruber making his final pit stop. Arden Green battling with Stephen Smalley for the race lead now in the LMP Pro-Am class.
Here comes Green. Looking to the outside, he's not going to go for it here. These two still needing their pit stop, means that they'll probably hang back for now. In fact, most of the top 8 needing their pit stop now, with the exception of Thomas Gruber, doing that as we speak. These guys come over the line as they are nose to tail as well. And the driver in second place in these scenarios, often saving fuel, although Green goes a little bit wide there, and a chance for Smalley to just break away now with that small advantage he's been handed.
Espinez once again back in compliance. He has come in for his to serve his black flag, so he is all good there. And also to mention, for those of you who maybe are new to watching these races or haven't seen these longer races just yet, these classes, the LMP, unlike NASCAR where you can fuel and change tires at the same time, you cannot do that in these series. You have to put the car up on the jacks, change the tires, and then the fuel goes in. And then after all service is complete, drop the car off the air jacks and out they go.
It does still take a compared to those, some of those just take a very long time indeed as we go on board with Green. Now, Jason Holland is absolutely desperate for us to show that incident from lap 32 all those laps ago, which was Owen Kizak, not just in Welsh as he initially told us earlier on. Is it even possible for us to fish something out from half an hour ago?
Yes it is. As a matter of fact, lap 32. Just give me a second and I will find it.
Just want to make it clear that Jason Holland is desperate to see this, and we're not trying to add to Aaron Kazak's misery, because it has been a bit of a miserable day for him. Oh, there's even more to it than I thought.
This is an incident here. This is turn 3. This was Kizik.
So that's the first part of the story. Contact through turn 3, straight on at turn 1. And toes, oh dear, this gets even more complicated.
And then jump.
Or is that the most recent one?
No, that was from lap 39, not 32.
So that's happened. I mean, we've that's another one. Honestly, I'm not trying to rub it in for him. Jason Holland is asking for this.
No, that's fine. I believe you. I trust you.
If it were up to me, I would have forgotten about this about half an hour ago.
I think we did.
Well, indeed. So much so that you had to remind me again.
Let's see where it is.
Anyway, quite a calamitous day, unfortunately. Because, by the way, it's been in for half an hour, for 14 minutes, sorry. But just now, it's seen the meatball go away. So if he comes back into the race, then fair play for persevering for so long in this race here today. It's gone on for now more than...
So it happened on lap 32, is that what it is?
Lap 32 is apparently the number. It's Jason Holland wants to see it because it's our first ever stop and hold, apparently, for the league. I guess stop and go, sort of what we saw before, but a 40-second stop and hold anyway.
This might be it. I can't guarantee it. I don't know. Oh,
this looks good.
They're both in frame here.
Through the final couple of corners and forgets. Oh no!
Yeah, that one's
forgets
not good.
To come into pit lane. Well, we've all been there.
I don't know if he forgot. I think maybe he didn't realize where the pit entry was. I mean, it's a rather obvious pit entry cutting off that final corner, but
I've seen it before. One of the funniest bits of television on this YouTube channel, anyway, I think, is from a few weeks ago at Motegi when someone was trying to find the pit lane. Going down all sorts of access roads trying to find the entry.
Motegi's pit entry is a little bit more crazy to find and go down than this one. I will give them that. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt at Motegi for sure.
Jason Holland says a bad driver never misses their exit. That feels like a double negative. So a good driver does miss their exit? Is that what is that?
Owen is Welsh?
Stop it, man. Oh my God.
Andrew Espinez in for an actual pit stop this time instead of a drive-through. He looks like he may have picked up a little more damage there on that right front, or just the angle that we're at.
Yeah, it's hopefully going to be solved with a fast repair unless he's already used it. Might have already used it, actually. Here's the battle for the lead in the Pro-Ams. Out of turn 5. A good driver goes to the next exit like a good human being. It's not all the words he used there, but I've missed out one. I mean, to be fair, if I'd missed my exit on the motorway, I do just sort of turn across.
Do the up and under.
I don't advise that, but I do it because I'm not driving all the way the wrong way to come back again. Can't be bothered. Anyway, yeah, that's a stop done pretty quickly for Espinez. No tyres this time, as you'd expect. He comes out in 6th again, and in comes Smalley. So these are the stops that are going to decide a race win here. This has been the most interesting class, I would say, of the day between LMP2 Pro-Ams. Although GT3 Pro is hotting up. Cortez only 4 seconds behind Crawford now. It's not there yet. The Pro-Am battle is going to happen in the pit stops, and here's Smalley. He's come to a stop. He'd now be fueling. Now, let's see whether he goes up on those jacks and changes any tyres here, or is he going to go to the end? I mean, it's only 20 minutes left. I'd expect him to continue.
I believe the tyres go first, so you're going to go up on the jacks and then out. So fuel only here for Stephen Smalley. I believe that's how the regulations work, is you go tyres first, then fuel.
Well, I'm not 100% sure, but I thought the tyres went second. But anyway, we're not going to find out with Smalley because he didn't take them at all. Here comes the second place, Alan Aguilar, about to put a lap on Smalley. He hasn't made his second stop yet, though, either. Neither have any of the top 4.
Ooh, somebody, I heard somebody just had a big slide. Yep, there's Daniel Miglin in that number 3. Oh, yeah, he's toasted. Done. Yeah.
No rear right drive there at all. The rear right suspension completely gone.
Let's see what happened with Miglin here.
Significantly hurt your ability to get up the grass again. Oh, he's already nearly off at turn 2. Well, this is completely on his own. We've seen a lot of traffic incidents in towards turn 3 today. This is not one of those. Just lost the rear on his own.
Yeah, might have been too much rear brake. Might have actually clipped that grass going into turn 3 when it didn't look like it. There's a number of things that could have happened there. And you mentioned guys on the pit stops. The top 5 overall currently: David Turnbull, Alan Aguilar, Dalton Dudley, and Sammy Hendricks currently running in 5th. All of those guys LMP2 Pro. Arden Green, the LMP2 Pro-Am leader, the only in the top 5. Those are the only ones that have yet to stop for a second time.
Not many now. As we go past lap 60 with David Turnbull here. Being caught by Alan Aguilar at the moment. Last time around by 1.2 seconds, but he did enough before the end of the race. There's James Gilpin, who is currently back in 2nd in the Pro-Ams. Has Oliver stopped for a second time yet? No.
He has not.
Neither has Gilpin, actually. So Samad should still be the leader, but just not at the moment.
Yes. Samad has come into pit. He came in on lap 50. And Walker Morgan, currently sitting in P4 in this GT3 Pro-Am class, also came in. He came on 53. Although that, I think, might have been for a penalty.
Yeah, that does always mess with things a bit. Alan Aguilar has a 15-second time penalty. He's been reminded by Jason Holland. So thanks for the reminder, because I was about to get excited about the battle for the race lead there. It's not really going to turn into one. What he is going to try and do is try and get far enough away from Dudley to gain some points on him today, in which case will bring the championship very close between the two of them. That's what Aguilar absolutely can aim for. The current gap is 13 seconds and he needs 15 to keep that second place.
He's about 2 down on Dudley right now. He's about 21 down on Turnbull, or 22 down on Turnbull as we run here with that 15-second penalty attached to Aguilar.
Yeah, needs to gain way more than a second a lap over Turnbull if he's going to do that. Much more achievable, though, to distance Dudley, and he's almost done it just through there. A little bit of traffic for Dudley, I expect. He's just pulled it out a little bit. And look at that, round the outside through turn 8 there from Aguilar. He's scything through the traffic in the way that he needs to here to retain this position. Out over the line again, and they still may have another couple of laps. He needs to not disconnect, that'd be bad.
Yeah, that's not great.
He's blinking a lot there.
Still is. That was Paul Basson, who he passed there in that Leighton House number 001, currently sitting 4th in the GT3 Pro class. Started on the front row of that GT3 Pro class and slid off in turn 3 on the opening lap. He's been fighting back ever since.
Just been given a graphic by Jason Holland about the incident count so far for all of the drivers, and there is one driver who's only got 1 incident point for the entire race.
I'm assuming Turnbull.
No, it isn't. I don't think you'd guess it if you were given about 10 guesses. I certainly wouldn't have. It's Pavel Kasko, who's currently in 3rd place in GT3, having a very quiet race, I suppose, and only 1 incident point so far.
I highlighted him earlier, and I think it's going to start becoming a running joke here on this channel. Am I the only one that just has no idea how to drive the Acura? Because Kaska put this thing on a podium position. There was another podium Acura in the Wednesday Night League last week at Silverstone, and now a podium drive here for the Acura. I must really just be bad at driving the Acura.
I don't think you are the only one. It is an unpopular car, but it seems that if you get it right, then you can get things going. I don't know if that is Robbie Williams in the chat there talking about the Acura. They're asking us who the brave soul in the Acura is. Don't know whether that but anyway. Jason Holland says he can drive the Acura into a wall. For that. We can do. We can all do that.
I drove the Acura. I drove the Acura in an official race at Monza, I think it was, and I came up after fighting that car the entire race. I coined the mic and said, yeah, anyone ever has the chance to drive the Acura, pass on it. Please do yourself the favor, because this has been torture.
I'll say it, in other sims, I've never driven it in iRacing. In other sims, it feels very nice. Never really too bothered about how quick it is, to be honest, which doesn't factor into my thinking, but it always felt very nice to me.
Yeah, no, as Aguilar flashing the lights, watch out, don't want to get a couple more incidents. For me, I have Race Labs, and one of the things in Race Labs, it'll show you like what the best times are per car and per class, what their guys have been able to set, their pros have been able to set. And I only look at that based off of, okay, so if let's just say the Aston is the quickest car, that just means it handles well on the iRacing nailed the fixed setup for the Aston. That's really all I look at it for.
Yeah.
But it's a very good run for Kaska today.
Although it's week 13 in 2 weeks, so
that's 2 weeks from now? Oh, jeez.
I think week 13 is 2 weeks away. Yeah, I think it's week 11. So it's getting close. That is Robbie Williams in the YouTube chat, by the way. It's because his YouTube name is Robbie Dorden, which made me think it was some sort of strange Robbie Gordon fan account or something. Anyway, it is Robbie Williams, as it turned out. He said that you're not the only one. It is garbage, but he can make it work clearly, and so can Kaska. Here come the LMP2s, Aguilar and Dudley. He put it in reverse there, thought he'd overshot it, but he doesn't. He gets that front nose just repaired. Might as well take your fast repair in the final 15 minutes and take the fuel required to get you to the end. Again, no tyres expected here, but a lot of fuel. 17 seconds of fuel there for 13 minutes of racing. That doesn't quite add up.
Might have been short. I mean, that's... You may also try to give yourself a little bit of extra time as well. So you got to get around potentially that extra lap. There's also potentially, there's also getting around if you want to do a cool down lap, but that's of your own prerogative. So there's multiple reasons why you would overfuel, or you just weren't paying attention. Dudley does 17 seconds worth of fuel too. We saw him go past as we were on board with Aguilar's stop.
Oh, goodness me, and there is contact for Aguilar. Just after he used his fast repair there, he gets into contact with the Mustang. And he flashes his lights at him as well. Coming out of turn number 5. Not happy with each other again there. That is contact with, not Crawford in the Mustang, but Daniel Leaf, who's been making contact with everybody today. Not always his fault, of course, and some solo incidents as well, but just not having an all-round good day, really.
Downhill turn 4, gets around him, and then just, I don't know if Lee thought he cleared him, but there's the cut of 5B.
Yeah. Sort of thought he wasn't going to go for it at all, really, I guess, through there. Yeah.
Martin Green, class leader for the Pro-Ams, in 30-second gap to Smalley. We'll see what happens here with that.
How long is this stop going to be? 19.6 seconds was the stop from Smalley. Greens is getting up to that. It's 16.3. It's shorter, but is Smalley's undercut going to work out for him here? Doesn't look like it. It looks like Green is going to be in the clear. He's got almost the entirety of the front straight to play with as he comes out the pit lane for the final time. David Turnbull does the same now as well, just making sure there's no mistakes really, and he'll come out in the lead comfortably.
Into the pits in that Dallara, last of the pros to pit. He had a 32-second advantage. There's Aguilar for comparison on track. Thomas Gruber and Dalton Dudley battling for the final spot on the podium here. Car 824 and 913.
Through the final turns, Gruber able to close as a result of traffic here, although Dudley then is down the inside and through into the final turn. Gruber follows as they come over the line. Is that a second between the two of them? That definitely is. That Gruber?
That is Gruber. It's 0.3 of a second between the two.
So yeah, the gap was just undulating very weirdly. That was very close with Gilpin. And by the way, is quite a bit further down than before, and he's going to lose 2 places with that penalty yet to be applied after the race. This is the case for a lot of these drivers, including Alan Aguilar, who's still just about within the 15-second range of Dudley. But if a fight happens between Dudley and Gruber, then that range is soon going to be out of range for Aguilar, which he'll be pushing very, very hard to get up to now, that 15 seconds.
He's got about, I think that's 13 seconds. So about 1 second left to go here between Aguilar and Dudley before he's clear. A little bit further back, Espinez and Hendricks going back at it again. These two have been around each other quite a bit, as I believe that was a Porsche or a McLaren off in the back. But these two have been very, very close to each other throughout the entirety of the second half of this race.
It's been a real shame what's happened to Espinez's race, really.
Yep.
He was competing for the win, and he was leading for a while before a spin through turn 5, and it really has snowballed since then. And I don't think he's been justified in his call to take tyres, by the way, at the moment, which is also a real shame. Final stop still not having yet happened in GT3 Pro, by the way, as we enter the final 10 minutes. That's why Cortez is currently leading. Can he hold on to the end here? Surely he can't do another 9 minutes without stopping here. It's the short stop, I think, and getting ahead of, coming out of the pit lane ahead of Crawford, I think, that is going to be a more realistic target of winning here for Cortez.
Yeah, he's your best bet right now is to put in as many clean laps as you can. Hope that the LMPs catch you in a good spot to where you don't lose so much time. And right now you've only got one LMP bearing down on you, about 5 seconds behind, that would look like. And then just shortening up this final stop as much as you can. You got a 27.6 second lead on Joseph Crawford, and also Casca behind you in that Acura has to pit as well. So you're fighting. You're not fighting the car directly behind you. You're fighting the one behind him.
He's got to put in some very, very fast laps at the moment while he's on that low fuel and on his own here, Cortez. His first stop came after 32 laps. He's done another 32 after this one. Casca did 33 in that first stint, though, and showing that it is possible to go on a bit further if you really want to. But does Cortez call it enough now? He does indeed. He wasn't going to go to the end of this race. He was just going to get the overcut as much as possible. Far more effective than an undercut in the sports car racing circles. As he comes into his box very early, of course, in a GT3 class. Stops, hits his marks, and now we'll be looking for that pit stop time. It shouldn't be too long. Crawford's stop was only 11 seconds. Cortez should be even shorter, 8.6. And as long as his lap times were quicker as well, then he might well be in front here. The gap was about 3 seconds when Crawford came into the pit lane. And Crawford is going to be roaring in towards turn 1 in just a moment, but is he getting there quick enough? It doesn't look like it. It looks like Alexander Cortez has completed his run to the back, to the front of the field, I should say, and to the tune of a few seconds as well.
Again, now Paul Casca currently holds the race lead in the GT3 Pro class, but he does need to come into pit again, and he was a good distance behind Alexander Cortez. So correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe this would be back-to-back wins here for Cortez as well, because I believe he won at Laguna Seca last week. Might have done. I might
Pierce,
be wrong.
Tried on the last lap.
Yes.
Well, he was battling with Pierce on the last lap, and Pierce got an incident points penalty, as far as I remember, for side-by-side fighting with him, really.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Cortez
we were
taking his
because we were
second
talking
win of the season, Cortez, in that moment there, which was not second in a row, but second in the season. And this would be 2 in a row here tonight. And I would argue more impressive as well, because he did drop down quite a way, actually. I know it's got a longer time to recover, but nevertheless.
Yeah, no, it's what you do at that time that makes the difference, and Cortez has played it absolutely perfectly as a 3.5 second gap back to Crawford in that Ford Mustang, who was leading this class a little bit earlier on, but pit strategy certainly playing the favor, going long and then taking that shorter fuel stop for Cortez at the very end here is definitely paying out dividends, as Hendricks and Espinez still continue to fight here. This is for 5th position in the LMP Pro class.
Well, might be the fight we get to the end of the race now between these two. One of the only ones, in fact, with the others being settled here. Just a little bit of communication between these LMP2s and GT3s seeming to come along a little bit now, with slightly less cars in the field, but also just more experience as this race wears on to almost its hour and a half conclusion now. Down towards turn 5, pretty late on the brakes from Espinez there, and almost touching Hendricks going around turn 5 here. Espinez will feel that a top 5 is the least that he deserves here from this race, given the way that it's panned out for him. Not much luck on his side, and you being glad to agree with him, really. He will have to fight hard to get it, though, and there's traffic up in front preventing him from doing anything on the way towards turn 8 this time.
I believe these GT3s are going to breathe a little bit more of a sigh of relief, as I believe there are only 10 LMPs that are continuing to run around this racetrack. Holiday just pulled off for what appears to be the final time. He is done in this race, so the podium for the LMP Pro-Am class is set. And then you have the 7 LMP2 Pros that are running, with this being the closest battle for position here between Hendricks and Espinez.
Now, the LMP2 is always outnumbered in this series, but never more so really than right now. They're outnumbered about 2-1 with the 30-odd GT3s that we still have in this field here tonight. On board with Espinez right down towards the turn 5 complex now, just able to keep it a bit tighter through the hairpin, and may be able to get in the slipstream now, taking a bit of slipstream from the Aston Martin, and didn't follow the LMP2 in the way that he probably should have on the way down the straight here. A little bit in the grass there from Espinez, from Hendricks, sorry. Espinez not able to get close enough. If he'd have followed Hendricks, he would have got a bigger slipstream on the back straight there.
Yeah, would have done, but also may have gotten involved in an incident with that Aston Martin closing that gap off. And now you got one coming up here with the Ford Mustang. And this just goes to show you, one, you're fighting the racetrack every single corner. This is a very fast right-hander in turn 1, and then you have to worry on top of that about where catch the LMP of the GTs, and that's what happens if you mess it up. Hendricks and Espinez both gone.
They are both gone, and that's big damage for Hendricks. Espinez, the damage is obvious. They've both got meatballs. They're both out of this race in the final 3 minutes. A shame to see the last battle of this race end in that way. There's been a lot, though, for race control to have a look at here tonight, because a lot of incidents up and down the field. It's just a misjudgment, it looks like, from Espinez here. They're both getting through cleanly on the outside of this Mustang here. Maybe the different line, the different circumstances just took Espin's eye off the braking marker that he was using on the way towards turn 3 there. Rear ends Hendricks, and they're both out of the final few minutes of this race.
Yeah, and for Hendricks, he took a little bit of a wider line getting around that lap car, as you'll see the contact come up here, but also Espinez just takes a more direct line going into the corner, and Hendricks was a little bit more conservative, giving that Mustang as wide a berth as he possibly could give him. So unfortunately, that's a point there where being conservative and being careful kind of hurt him there.
I say it's a shame to see the last battle end in that way, but I guess fitting in other ways that it's been such an incident-filled race that it will also end with an incident as well. There'll only be one more lap to go here for David Turnbull at the end of this one. 77 laps as it turns out in the end, and Espinez, for what it's worth, gets a 15-second time penalty, so we'll end this race in 7th place in the LMP2 Pro class. But David Turnbull showing why he is the championship, or one of the three, I suppose, championship contenders this season. He's had a quiet race for the most part, but he's leading the race at the most important moment, and that moment, of course, being the very end of this race. He's going to gain on to lead, finishes in 4th place, and Aguilar is going to be pushed down to 3rd if this time gap remains the way it is. As the white flag waves for David Turnbull, he'll make some strides in the championship, and looks like in a minute or so we'll be taking a race win as well. Yeah,
he's led for the better part of the last hour, and you can see there the BMW getting out of the way. That's one thing about being a class leader, or the overall leader in Turnbull's case. You do get a little bit of extra room from those the lower class cars, because no one wants to be that guy who ruins the overall race leader. And you see Casca there. He did come into pit. He is running 3rd place in that GT3 Pro category, but this has been an absolute clinic from Turnbull as, oh, he's going to get 2nd as Casca, as Crawford was around in turn 5.
That was scary. Crawford gets demoted an extra place then, and there's Casca, who's going to be 2nd place, and see Cortez going to be classified with an extra lap compared to the rest in GT3 Pro by the looks of things, just the way that the lapping has worked here today. But through the final corners of the first endurance race of this season, David Turnbull is going to take victory at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park overall with a very clean and solid race. He crosses the line first and takes victory here tonight in round 4 of the Bitepoint Racing Sports Car Challenge. Not far behind, Arden Green is going to finish on the lead lap here and in 4th place, or 5th place, overall, behind the top 4 in the Pro class, where Aguilar will be moved down to 3rd behind Gruber, and the championship leader Dudley will be in 4th place. It is Green who finishes 5th overall with a Pro-Am victory to go with it as well, and a pretty comfortable one in the end as well. After that final pit stop, saw him quite a few seconds in front of Stephen Smalley. Further back in the Pro-Am class, Mark Samad is going to take victory in GT3. There he goes, crossing the line quite comfortably in the end to win on home soil. Very nicely in front of Olivo and James Gilpin, who in the end will drop off the podium with that penalty that he got very early on in the race. One last penalty coming through, by the way. Tyler Crow for avoidable contact right at the end there. As Alexander Cortez comes through the final couple of corners, and he will take victory as well in GT3 Pro. 2nd in a row, 3rd of the season, and closes dramatically on James Pearce in the GT3 Pro Championship now as well. So 90-minute race and lots packed into it here tonight from Mosport.
Yeah, absolutely. A very, very fun race from what we saw here tonight. A lot of great drives, a lot of big mistakes, big accidents, but David Turnbull being the one to come out on top. A fantastic drive from him. Congratulations to all 4 of the class winners.
We'll see the results in full in just a moment. It's, the results are classified as they go through the new jump. No Bathurst jump anymore, but there's the closest thing to it. Through at Mosport, through turn 5. Anyway, they'll go back to the back of the pit lane, and some of them will come to chat to us in just a moment once we've seen the race results here tonight from Mosport. So David Turnbull takes the victory overall and wins it by just nearly 4 seconds in front of Alan Aguilar. Thomas Gruber in third place, Dalton Dudley then next, and Andrew Fabian the last one to finish in LMP2 Pro, because Andrew Espinez of Sammy Hendricks went off there very late on. Daniel Miglin, that rear right damage, also out of the race. Scott Murray and Adam Beffel also out of the race in the first half of the race, those last two in Pro. In LMP2 Pro-Am, On Green takes victory by 12 seconds in the end in front of Stephen Smalley and Jacob Sheridan, the other finisher there. Harrison Holday, Corey Patton, Noam Kizek all retiring from the race. In GT3 Pro, Alexander Cortez battles his way back through the field to finish first in front of Pavel Kaska, with Josie Crawford on the podium in the end after that late spin. Paul Basson finishes fourth in front of Francis Crosby and Justin Bock, who got lapped there right towards the end, by the way, to be scored one lap less than Cortez. But anyway, Tim Schaefer finishes 2 laps down, Tony Lee 4 down, Lorenzo 5 down, and Anthony Mazzella retired early on. And in GT3 Pro-Am, it's Mark Samad who takes the comfortable victory in front of Randy Oliver in the end. Gilpin will drop behind Voigt with that penalty, so they'll be third and fourth, ahead of Walker Morgan, then Joe Culp. Tyler Crowe got a late penalty there, finishes 2 laps down with Tyler Grondin. RJ Dubek and Josh Mann also laps down, multiple laps down at the end of that race. David Turnbull is waiting for us for a chat. They'll bring the overall winner in here. David, congratulations on the overall win, the win in LMP2 here tonight as well. I'm not sure if you're aware, but not long after you took the race lead away from Andrew Espinez with the spin through turn 5, he came into the pit lane and took tyres about sort of 35-40 minutes into that race, even after chasing you and actually closing on you for just a little while. Was that ever a consideration for you that tyres might be taken at any point in this race, and did you quite understand what was actually happening around you in that quite chaotic race there at the front?
Yeah, thanks. I was just trying to mind my own business, save as much fuel as possible, and in the process of that, it looks after the tyres. I didn't make the decision to no stop the tyres until the first stop when I came in and saw how much was left, and then I was kind of keeping an eye on the other guys, and I think traffic basically just kept the gaps for me, which was quite useful.
Indeed. How was that to deal with here tonight at Mosport? As I mentioned in previous weeks, we're entering a real run now after last week's race, also this week, but also Bathurst and Suzuka in the next 2 weeks. A very difficult, it feels to me, traffic races. So how was it out there tonight?
A couple of minor incidents. I got my 1.4x, I think, from a dooring heading into Moss side by side, but generally it's pretty good as long as they make a decision. When they don't make a decision, or they make the wrong decision occasionally, that's when it gets messy.
Well, yeah, indeed, we saw plenty of examples of that tonight. Congratulations, David, on taking the victory overall, and thanks for chatting to us at the end as well.
Thanks, guys. Awesome job.
Thanks so much, David Turnbull, the LMP2 Pro winner here tonight. LMP2 Pro-Am won by Arden Green here tonight. Joins us as well. Arden, welcome in. Congratulations on Pro-Am victory here tonight. All came down, it seemed to me, to that final pit stop between yourself and Stephen Smalley. You were running nose to tail just beforehand. How confident were you heading into that pit stop phase that you would be the one with the shorter stop and therefore get out front in the way that you did?
I'll be honest, pretty confident, because on that first stop he was 2 laps ahead of me on pitting, so I knew I had the advantage on the fuel. I almost debated on trying to undercut him, but I'm really glad I didn't, because how the tires were with the understeer, having that light fuel load made a load of difference towards the last part of the laps. But there was one point I remember I lost it while battling him, and I lost the position to him. But at a certain point, you just got to tell yourself to take a deep breath and know you'll catch back up to him. Traffic will work wonders for sure.
And it's a season so far that's put you in 6th place in the points heading into this round of the championship. How pleased are you to get through this sort of first third of the season? Now capping it off with a race win, of course, as well. But how have you been finding the first third of this new season?
It's had a lot of ups and downs. Unfortunately, I had technical issues at Laguna that impacted my race, and I chose to withdraw, so I didn't take out any other drivers. And Spa had a lap 1 incident, unfortunately, too. So I'm just hoping to keep it clean the rest of the season. This definitely means a lot. But at the end of the day, this is a wonderful group of guys to be racing with, and that's what means the most. And each week by week, I hope to keep improving with it for sure.
Well, good luck with the rest of the season, of course, and thanks for chatting to us tonight, Arden. And once again, congratulations on the Pro-Am victory in LMP2.
Yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate y'all. Have a good night.
Thanks so much, Alan Green, the LMP2 Pro-Am winner here tonight. In GT3 Pro, Alexander Cortez works his way to the front of the field and takes victory here tonight. Alexander, welcome in and congratulations on taking the GT3 Pro victory. How likely did you think that was once you've had your incident and dropped quite some way down the field earlier on tonight?
Not high. I had to work through the GT3s. Luckily, the field was a little bit of a carnage today, so some of the moves weren't my doing. I had a couple good outside moves, and then once I got up to P3, I figured it wasn't going to get that far. I figured the Mustang ahead was just going to pull away, but I was able to reel it back in.
I mean, into the final pit stops there, you seem to go quite deep into the race to take a very, very short splash and dash at the end there. Was that part of your strategy all along heading into this race, or did you have to adapt anything strategy-wise once you'd had the incident that put you back further than you'd hoped to be?
The initial strategy was to just feel safe, try and see if I can cut off that pit stop, because I wasn't sure if I was able to make it or not. But once I dropped back, it was just go all out, try and make up as many spots as I could. And then luckily, my pace was a little overwhelming, I guess, and I was able to catch up to everybody else.
Well, congratulations again on taking the win in GT3 Pro tonight. Alexander, thanks for chatting to us at the end as well.
Appreciate it, you guys. Thank you.
Thanks very much. That's Alexander Cortez, who takes victory in GT3 Pro. Now, no GT3 Pro-Am winner here today joining us. Doesn't look like Mark Samad is not down there, but second place overall, Alan Aguilar is, so we might as well bring him in for a chat instead. And we'll do that now. Alan, welcome in. Congratulations on a second place run here tonight after winning last week at Laguna Seca. You were closing for quite some time on David Turnbull at different points in that race. Are you disappointed not to have got closer to the victory tonight, or pleased with second place?
I'm pretty happy with second place considering what happened. Yeah, I wasn't intending on gaining to Turnbull. I was pretty content where I was, but I had that penalty, so I had to be able to get behind.
In terms of this building this season, it obviously gets you some points over Dalton Dudley. You lose a few to Turnbull, but you had 17 points over him to begin with here tonight as well. So coming out the first 4 rounds, pretty much level with Dudley. Are you sort of pleased that that's sort of level after 4 rounds, or how do you see the first 4 rounds of this championship having gone for you now?
I think it's a pretty strong start. If you factor in the drop week, I think Dudley's now about 10 or 15 points behind me, and I'm only 7 or 8 behind Turnbull, so it's pretty close so far.
Yeah, it certainly is. Well, congratulations on second tonight, Alan, again, and thanks for chatting to us at the end as well.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Alan Aguilar in second place here tonight, backing up the win from Laguna Seca last week, and backing up what's going to be a very close LMP2 Pro Championship by the looks of things. That's just about it from us here tonight. Our first endurance race of the season here, Frank, and a good one at that. Jason Holt messaging us that he felt like that was a race that he was stewarding like the ones at Monza are. Of course, Monza always the busiest races really to have to steward. Of course, a thanks to Jason Holland and Mike Anderson for all the work they do in race control. But they were busy tonight, reflecting how busy the racetrack was over the course of today.
Yeah, they were busy. We were busy. It was one heck of a race here tonight. A lot of fun. It's not going to get any easier, as you mentioned, Bathurst coming up next week, going up and down the mountain. It is going to be an incredible, incredible race to see how these guys get on out at Map Panorama on next Thursday night. But tonight, very, very fun race, very hectic and chaotic at a lot of points, and congratulations to all 4 of the class winners here tonight.
Yeah, indeed. Fully deserved after an hour and a half of racing. Some real comeback through the field wins as well for the likes of Alexander Cortez in GT3 Pro. Don't see too many of those over the course of these races sometimes, although again, you do have a bit more time to do it in these hours and a half. That's just about it from us here tonight on Motormouth Broadcasting. We'll be live same time, same place next week with a regular hour-long race. That's from Bathurst. Doesn't get any easier from here this season as we go into week 5 of our season. I've been Neil Lyric alongside Frank Marchese. Until we see you at Mount Panorama next week, it's goodbye for now.